With the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One being out for almost a full 2 years now, if you haven't done so before, now's the best time we should say goodbye to our PlayStation 3s, a console which had some of the best video games ever created. To commemorate the success for this beautiful system, or maybe to show you what games you might have missed, today I am tasked with showing you the 25 best PlayStation 3 games ever created. This was not an easy list to make, I can assure you that. Games that won't be on this list are remakes of older games, or games of which also came out on the PlayStation 4 around the same time. So games like Far Cry 4 and Assassin's Creed 4 won't be on this list, but games like The Last of Us and Grand Theft Auto 5 can be on the list, as the PS4 versions weren't released till sometime afterwards. And if there's a game you love that wasn't on this list, that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Remember, I can only put 25 games on the list, and I've done my best to keep this list as unbiased as possible. So sit back and get ready to either reminisce or see what you missed with the 25 best PS3 games of all time. Disguised as your typical run-of-the-mill third-person shooter, Spec Ops: The Line is the most underrated game I have ever played. Taking place in a beautiful war-torn Dubai, The Line is never afraid to show you the horrors of war and forcing you to do things you really don't want to do. When has a video game ever made you feel bad about the things you've done? I guess it's about time you find out in this psychologically draining story. Upon its release, Heavy Rain proved that cinematic storytelling and player choice worked pretty well as a video game. The intriguing tale of the Origami Killer is one of the best stories in a video game thanks to very good writing and acting, incredible emphasis on player choice, and one of the only games to utilize QuickTime events properly. If you screw up, you don't try again, the story just continues. This is player choice done right. With one of the best endings to any video game trilogy, Kratos is angry with the gods and has made it his mission to end all of their lives. With incredible graphics even after 5 years, satisfying hack-and-slash combat is some of the most incredible and jaw-dropping set pieces in video games, God of War 3 is the definition of the word epic. Calling this the best Ratchet & Clank game ever still doesn't do this game enough justice. With impressively shiny graphics that still impress by today's standards, incredibly solid gunplay with crazy weapons, and an amazing cast of characters and voice actors with a hilarious and ingenious script, make Ocarina of Time the closest thing to a Pixar video game. If you could only invest your money into one music game, then Rock Band 3 is the game to get. Like every other entry, the core gameplay of playing guitar, bass, drums, and vocals are as addicting as ever. But with vocal harmonies, the ability to play real guitar and drums, the only Rock Band game that supports keys, and an online setlist with over 3,000 songs to choose from, Rock Band 3 is a timeless music game that does what it sets to accomplish: be the best damn party game ever created. While the first Dead Space is one of the scariest games of all time, Dead Space 2 was a consistently enjoyable video game full of memorable moments. The game was graphically beautiful, the combat was deeper considering the multitude of different and scary enemies you had to face against, it was even gorier than the original, it was also one of the most cinematic and polished action games since Uncharted 2 blew everyone away. With memorable moments like the needle in the eye, the train sequence, the daycare, and that ending, Dead Space 2 is a memorable adventure that does horror right. When the original Deus Ex was released in the year 2000, it changed the gaming industry by letting players play the game they wanted and make the choices they wanted to make in an immersive world. Surprisingly enough, Human Revolution was better in almost every way. With a very believable world where people are against humans with augmented body parts, a well thought out stealth and action combat system, as well as playing the amazing lead character Adam Jensen, Human Revolution is a polished game that sometimes makes you forget you're playing a video game. After the industry-defining Modern Warfare came out in 2007, Modern Warfare 2 literally improved upon its predecessor in every way possible. It told a good story with impressive visuals and some of the best set pieces the series has seen to date, and it also has the best multiplayer the whole series has ever seen. recognizable guns and perks, addictive game modes, and a diverse set of maps that put the rest of the series to shame, this is a well thought out Call of Duty that shows off what makes the series so special. Modern Warfare 2 is the best Call of Duty game ever made, and it still stands the test of time. Developed by that game company, Journey is a well thought out adventure that I don't even want to try and replicate through words. It's a story about you reaching the top of a shiny mountain. That's it. Through one of the most beautiful looking games ever made, you surf through sand, uncover the story's secrets, make new friends, and will eventually feel a plethora of emotions I won't spoil for you. Journey is a short game that never overstays its welcome. It will not only change the way you look at video games, it will also tell you a story that could change your life if you let it. Far Cry 3 is a perfect example of how a game's story is paired up so well with its gameplay. Your name is Jason. With a bunch of your college buddies, you accidentally land on Rook Island, which is full of evil people with guns. It is up to you, a regular young man, to save your friends and escape the island. Now you're playing a character that doesn't kill people, so you start off by only using pistols. Throughout the game, the more equipment and weapons you come across, the more fun Jason has with killing. This is a well-told story in a vast open world with many things to do and many crazy villains to face off. Oh, and it's a lot of fun to blow shit up. Some people are immediately turned off by Catherine because of its visuals and how different it is, which is a shame because they're missing out on an excellent game. You're a man named Vincent, who is played by Troy Baker, who is dating a girl named Catherine, that's Catherine with a K. Then you accidentally hook up with a girl named Catherine, that's Catherine with a C. It then tells an incredibly well thought out story that deals with relationships better than with any other game out there. And you also have nightmares in which you're a sheep and you have to climb boxes, otherwise you die in real life. It sounds very out of place, but it works well. With fun puzzle solving, a terrific cast of characters, and some of the best voice acting in video games, Catherine should not be ignored, and I highly recommend you give this game a shot, even if it's not your cup of tea. Infinite is a beautiful and thoughtful experience that I literally can't put into words, not just because of it containing the most confusing yet well-told stories to be found in video games, but because of literally everything else. The world of Columbia is one of the most awe-inspiring and visually pleasing locations I've ever seen, and it is so well envisioned it truly feels like a real place. The game's story, as well as the themes it deals with, is so well thought out that I felt privileged just to experience it. Everything from characters, a critically important yet memorable soundtrack, voice acting, and the way everything comes together, Infinite is an unforgettable experience that filled me with a range of emotions that I'll never forget. And plus, Burial at Sea is a fantastic piece of DLC that also deserves an honorable mention. Although the game would have made it much higher on this list if its gameplay was anything like what was shown off in older trailers, BioShock Infinite is a fantastic example of art and unique storytelling in video games. Dark Souls is a game that loves to kill you and rip you to pieces, and it could care less if you decide to stop playing. So, why is it good? It's because the world of Dark Souls is one of the most well thought out and intriguing worlds out there. What makes it so amazing though, is that it never tells you a thing about it. It's up to you to explore the world and find things out for yourself. Along the way, you'll encounter enemies and creatures that will kill you in only a few swings, and they are not easy to defeat. It will sometimes take you more than 30 times to get past one enemy, most definitely. But the thought that you could keep going and slowly unpeel the world's secrets is reason enough to take a journey through hell. This isn't just the best superhero game ever made, it happens to be one of the most polished, surprising, and well thought out action games ever. Its main goal is to make you feel like Batman, and it does an amazing job at doing so. Punching bad guys in the face proves this game has one of the best feeling combat systems ever. Soaring around the semi-open world using your grappling hook feels exhilarating. Stealth segments are also very well thought out, and the boss battles are straight up amazing. With a terrific cast of characters, beautiful world, and ingenious game-breaking moments that only Rocksteady can think of, Arkham City is a polished superhero game that accomplishes everything it sets out to do. The third installment in the incredible Uncharted series, Drake's Deception also happens to be the most inconsistent. While there were moments that were put in just to make the game longer, the best moments in the game are also some of the best in video games. The set pieces and cinematic storytelling were better than every other game of its time. The boat scene as well as the crazy airplane scene are some of the most exhilarating moments to be found in video games. Plus, it tells an amazing and personal story about people's favorite video game character, Nathan Drake. This is an amazing adventure with an incredible amount of charm and epic moments you won't ever forget. The first two Fallout games, which not many people have played, were over-the-top point-and-click RPGs, so the thought of Bethesda continuing the series as a first-person action RPG didn't sound like it would work. But what came out was an incredible experience that let the player do literally whatever they want. While I don't think there should be many games that let everything fall to player choice, Fallout 3 does such a good job of letting you do your thing that there doesn't need to be another game that lets you do your thing. Well, not including the Elder Scrolls series. The Wasteland is full of interesting people, hundreds of stories that will forever be embedded in your mind, and you'll have to make tens of thousands of moral decisions that shape you and the world around you. It may get to the point that you care more about the decisions you make in the game than decisions you make in real life. If this has ever happened to you, or you're afraid this might happen to you, don't worry, because you're not alone. A game that needs little introduction, Grand Theft Auto 5 has an incredible open world filled with so much detail and worthwhile things to do, sometimes it's unfathomable how such a game exists. It's also a hilarious game that makes fun of the society that we live in today pretty well. While I hate Franklin as a character, Michael and Trevor are some of the best characters in the whole series. Incredible actors and incredible scripts almost never go wrong. And then there's GTA Online. While not my cup of tea, it's addictive enough that thousands of people are still playing the game today, with content being updated constantly. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a game with unparalleled detail and is one of the best open world games on PlayStation 3. This is a game that is only meant for fans of the series, as people who haven't played any other Metal Gear game did not get as much enjoyment out of this game as everyone else has. But I'll be honest with you, it is absolutely worth putting almost 100 hours of your time playing other games of the series just so you can play this game, because by the time you make it to Guns of the Patriots, Metal Gear's story will most likely have captured your heart and your interest. But anyways, Metal Gear Solid 4 is chronologically the end of the Metal Gear timeline, and it wraps up the entire series. It is an emotional, impactful, and satisfying conclusion with incredible graphics and the most stylish cutscenes ever created. While there isn't much of it, the stealth gameplay is fantastic with the inclusion of the Octo Camo and the amount of freedom you have to approach most scenarios. Those of you who aren't interested in the series as of now might not understand why this game is so high on the list, but if you decide to take a chance to dip your toes into the series, I promise you'll understand and thank me later. Skyrim, gameplay-wise, is basically a much more refined version of Fallout 3, but they both share the same goals when it comes to player choice and exploration, and Skyrim does not disappoint. Graphically and aesthetically, Skyrim is much more varied and full of different cultures, which makes every location feel distinct. Like Fallout 3, Skyrim has an overwhelming amount of content, and even after a couple hundred hours, you'll still discover new things, experience new stories, and meet new people. With a weighty yet satisfying combat system, a well thought out world, and unparalleled player choice, Skyrim is one of the best RPGs of the whole generation. While people who haven't played the Mass Effect series might think putting all three games together in one spot on the list is considered cheating, anyone who's played through the series can agree they fit together. Mass Effect as a whole has one of the largest, most well-realized, and complex worlds in fiction. Throughout the trilogy, your main mission is to save the galaxy from the Reapers and prove that mankind as a race can live alongside everyone else. With great characters, talented voice acting, beautiful worlds, engaging combat, and a story that changes depending on your actions even across multiple games, Mass Effect is the game you wanted to play ever since you first watched Star Wars. Rockstar is universally associated with the Grand Theft Auto series, and everyone knows that. Everyone, for good and bad reasons, are playing GTA Online right now. But the studio's greatest accomplishment definitely has to be this wild western classic, Red Dead Redemption. Telling the story of, you guessed it, redemption, John Marston has to hunt down his old gang of outlaws to get his family back from the government. This is a mature story told right with the help of enjoyable, yet not so mature characters that you'll love and hate for all the right reasons. Traversing the Wild West as a cowboy is as fun as it sounds. You just do cowboy things like shoot stuff with your revolver and ride sexy horses. Red Dead is a beautiful game with many fun things to do, but it's the way the story, characters, and gameplay are woven together that make this one of the best games of the generation and Rockstar's finest game to date. BioShock is a beautiful and thoughtful experience that I literally can't put into words. Did that sentence sound familiar to you? That's because its sequel, Infinite, is as similar to BioShock as it is different. The game not only takes place in Rapture, but it's about Rapture, a city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, and where the great would not be constrained by the small. BioShock isn't meant to be a horror game, but Rapture is a very scary place now with a tone that hasn't been replicated in games ever since. Its story is also so well connected with its medium that the fall of Rapture is a story that could only be told in video games. Its combat is also a lot of fun and requires constant juggling between guns and wonderful powers called plasmids. BioShock is a terrific accomplishment in video games that proved almost 8 years ago that video games are more than what they used to be. In all honesty, Among Thieves is a simple game. You walk around, climb stuff, shoot bad guys, and solve puzzles, and it's incredible. Uncharted is a cinematic marvel with set pieces that rival even the biggest Hollywood blockbusters. But looking like a movie isn't why Uncharted 2 is held with such high regard among fans. It gives you control during moments that you didn't think were technically possible in a video game. It's also a game full of character in every sense of the word. With a terrific cast of characters and actors, constant one-liners and dialogue stuck in through every moment, and perfect cast chemistry, Among Thieves is the most personal adventure set on a large scale. The way the game is paced, the amount of places you visit, the different things you do, the unparalleled scope of imaginative set pieces that you could be a part of, and the characters that stay by your side through this incredible story. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is an adventure, and it's one of the best virtual and non-virtual adventures you'll ever go on. After Valve blew everyone's minds when the original Portal was released in 2007, Portal 2 takes the sequel and expands upon it in almost every way possible, making it one of the best video games ever made. Expanding the gameplay possibilities by adding new mechanics, Portal 2 is one of the only games where the puzzles can get incredibly hard, but the solution doesn't feel hidden. And as perfect as the puzzles are, the real genius of the game is found in every single inch of the game. Portal 2 is the most polished video game ever crafted. The game's writing and its voice performances are some of the best to be found in any medium. It's one of the funniest games I've ever played. Characters such as GLaDOS and Wheatley are ranked among the best fictional characters ever created. The co-op mode is also a welcome addition that is as carefully thought out as the single-player campaign. Portal 2 is a game made by geniuses who love video games, and it's a worthy piece of entertainment that will stand the test of time. Like the Uncharted series, The Last of Us is a linear adventure with a terrific cast of characters and is a game that lets you control the action, but its tone and purpose is completely different. This is a game that makes you depressed and you'll love and hate every second of it. The Last of Us is my favorite story ever told. A story about a man with few moral lines left to cross, escorting a 14-year-old girl across the country. Joel and Ellie are fantastic. Their acting and their chemistry are some of the best acting I've ever witnessed. The world of The Last of Us is beautiful, sad, and real. Nature took over everything and there's something very peaceful about it. The score, which was composed by Gustavo Santaolalla, I think that's how you say it, is perfect. The gameplay is a perfect mix of stealth and action, and the limited amount of resources you have work perfectly with the game's desperate tale of survival. This is the defining example of what video games can accomplish. And not only is The Last of Us the best game on the PlayStation 3, it is also one of the best video games ever made. And those were my 25 best games for the PlayStation 3. What games did you guys think should make the list? Let me know in the comments below, because it was impossible to include them all, and there were probably about 100 other games that could have easily made this list. Anyways, I'm curious to see what games you guys come up with. For more video game reviews, lists, and anything video game related, be sure to subscribe to Bathroom Gamers. Thank you for watching, and stay fresh.